Hello, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Periscope. My name is Frank Lavinia, and got a camera moved. My name is Frank Lavinia, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Frank Diggs Data. And I do this thing that I've been doing up until a few weeks ago, and things kind of crazy at work. And then last week I was in the mountains. But I did do a lot of reading while I was on vacation and on the way to and from the mountains. So with that, let me roll the cool graphics. All right, so today I am reviewing this book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success. And the person who wrote it is John Lee Dumas. John Lee Dumas, someone who I've actually had on my podcast. I've listened to his podcast religiously over the last 4 or 5 years. He's been podcasting for about 10 years. And for the first 7 or so years, he produced the show daily. So he has a epic repertoire of material that even I haven't gotten to. I tend not to listen to him every week. Now he does a show multiple times. That sounds really bad. What I tend to do is I like batching up his shows. I like listening to 3 in a row because they're just that good. And sometimes I'll listen to the same show episode again and again and again because there's just so much good nuggets of wisdom in there. So if you're not familiar with John Lee Dumas has a really good life story, very interesting. He started his academic career with the intent to go into law. He served the country in Iraq, and he was not satisfied with law school, and he basically left after the first semester. And he has been, I think, a guiding star, a North Star, if you will, for a lot of folks who wanted to make the entrepreneurial journey, but they weren't sure how. And what's great about John, one of the many things that's great about John, is that he is very transparent in how he makes his money. And as he points out in the book, is that the steps to be successful online or anywhere else are not really secrets per se. They are pretty commonly known. I mean, you can just look at what John has done. He picked a niche and he went all in on it. And then he consistently, over time, added more and more value. In fact, that's a quote that keeps coming up a lot in this book, is a quote from Einstein. And then it basically is like, don't seek riches, seek to be a person that adds value. And there's a lot of times in his life where he asks, am I adding value? And he also created the notion of an avatar. He didn't create the notion, but he created an avatar, which is basically the ideal listener for your show. And you would always serve that person or add value to that person. And throughout the book, he goes through not just his story, but he talks to, he interviews other entrepreneurs that can add value to your story. And I listened to the audiobook. This is actually a rare threefer. I bought the audiobook. I pre-ordered the Kindle book. Then I bought the audiobook because John's a great podcaster. He's done thousands of podcast episodes, so he's good on the mic. And, and then I really liked what I was listening to. So, halfway through the audiobook, I'm like, I want this on hard paper too. So, because there's a lot of things that, kind of exercises to fill out and things like that, which for me personally work out better. I recommend this book. John Lee Dumas, he's written a couple other books. Most of his other books are self-published. I think all of his other books are self-published, and they're kind of small. This is actually with a quote-unquote real publishing house. I recommend it. I think you should pick this book up. If I like the audiobook, thedatadrivenbook.com will route you, and you'll get a free copy of any one Audible book from Audible. Or just go to Amazon, pick up the Kindle, pick up the paper book, go to Barnes & Noble. It's a really good book. I found it very inspirational. He goes through, he talks about, and what's cool is that what's cool is that he actually will go and he'll interview folks. Recently for the book launch, he's interviewed a bunch of folks that are kind of highlighted in each chapter, and so you get to hear kind of behind the scenes too. And if you ordered it early, you got a perk where you get a couple of extra stuff too, which reminds me I need to check on that. And I have a comment from John, the great John Wood. John Wood produces awesome materials on machine learning, MLNet, and things like that. Yes, it is rare to see a physical book, and that's what's great. You get, there's just some books you just have to have it in papers, particularly if there's like a Q&A, and there's definitely some things in here to fill out and things like that. So for me, that was kind of what pushed me over the edge. But yeah, I mean, I like books. I have a book problem, I suppose, but definitely check that out. Actually, John, I remind me, I'll IM you. I have some cool stuff I'm working on. But yeah, I mean, it sometimes you just want to have a physical book. And this year I've actually bought a lot of physical books. I'm currently working on book number 18 for the year. So that puts me at 6 per month, not counting April yet. So I'm on track to hit 72. That's the plan. Last year, the plan was 72, but I only got to 63. So shoot among the stars. Aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll hit the stars. Something like that. But I mean, yeah. I mean, just some books you want to have a physical copy. There's actually another book, and it's not in the room. That I do have a physical book. I do recommend this though. If you just want to do the audiobook, that's fine. Maybe you won't love it as much as I did, but this book is awesome. And he really kind of puts in perspective kind of the entrepreneurial journey. Like, why would you want to do this? What value are you adding? Not just to other people, but to your own life and the life of your loved ones. It's pretty good. And he just a really good guide to why would you want to do this? How would you want to do this? And I found inspiration from it. I was driving up to the mountains. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. Cool. Yeah, definitely. I definitely recommend it in terms of, I definitely recommend the book because it's awesome. And it's very inspirational. And if you haven't checked out his podcast yet, John, check it out. EOFire, I think it's eofire.com, but it's everywhere. He also, I mean, he's just a good teacher. He's a good presenter. He's great on the mic. Definitely check it out. His stories are very inspiring. The stories of his guests and things like that. They talk about how they came to this realization and then they fixed the problem. I enjoyed it very much. I listened to this on the way up to Deep Creek Lake, and started another book on the way back. But it's great, particularly if you kind of, not even if you just want to do entrepreneur things, just if you want to do kind of content creation. It's hard to argue with somebody who has produced 2,500 podcast episodes. For reference, Data Driven is about 270-ish. So that's over 3 years. So we never did the daily show, but you know what? You don't have to do the daily show. And if you look at kind of, niching down, why would you niche down? He gets into that. I mean, the strategies, tactics, and inspiration in this book alone are awesome. And John is definitely great on the mic. So I highly recommend picking up that book. Go to thedatadrivenbook.com. If you don't have a subscription to Audible, you'll get a free book. And you'll help support the Data Driven Show, which, let me put those URLs up. Ding. There we go. Those are my URLs. Data Driven TV is the podcast. Impact Quantum is also the podcast. I actually just got off a really interesting panel discussion virtually, which is pretty cool, with some interesting folks to talk about Unbanked, the Unbanked. And if you're wondering what the heck does that mean, there's a large segment of the population that don't have a bank account, and they are at a disadvantage. If you don't have a bank account, there's just certain things that can't do or cost more to do. Paying your bills, for instance, there's an extra cost to it. And, kind of, how do you address that? How do you take a system that is arguably already has inequality in it, and you know if you don't have a bank account, it's even more so. So how do you rectify that? And I think the consensus of all the people is that it's not really just a technology problem. Any number of technologies could fix the problem, but the actual problem is, I think, is at the core of it trust. There's a lack of trust in certain communities of banks, and I mean, let's face it. I used to work at banks. I can totally see how that came about, how that mistrust came about. It is what it is, and we can, I think there used to be this thing in the U.S. They're still around, but they're not quite the same as they used to be, called credit unions, which was really kind of community-led banking, and that enabled a lot of folks, including my family growing up, to participate in banks and in banking and not be unbanked. And I think that won't solve all the problems, but it will go a long way to fixing a lot of the problems. So, bit of a sidetrack from the book review, but definitely check it out. I will post on franksworld.com. I believe the recordings will be made available shortly, and I am super excited to share that on that. I want to thank Lauren and the folks at Disrupt Tech for inviting me, and I really appreciate that, and highly recommend this book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success. Highly recommend John Lee Dumas's podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire, and also go back and check out the interview Andy and I did with him. And strictly speaking, it was we talked about data and the importance of data to entrepreneurs, but just talking to John, and it's just it's gotten to a point now. I hear him speak, or Kate, which is his fiance, and they're just positive people doing good in the world. I think by inspiring other people, it's kind of like you throw a ripple in a pond, and there it is. So with that, I am just going to stick around for a few more minutes to answer questions. But I want to thank you, John, for watching live. According to my little icon, you're on YouTube. I'm going to send you a message on LinkedIn that you should be on the lookout for, because want to talk to you about some cool stuff Andy and I are working on. For those that are watching and have been listening to Andy and I and the podcast talk about Project Ringgate, I'm basically referring to Project Ringgate. We are almost ready to launch. We're actually doing a soft launch. So if you want to get a look at it, we're looking for testers now. Shoot me a add to this comment. And the more comments I get on these videos, the more views they get, particularly on LinkedIn. I've got the LinkedIn algorithm kind of figured out. I may have to pick your brain, John, to figure out the YouTube algorithm, because I always say my YouTube channel, franksworld.tv, didn't get the millions of subscribers I had anticipated, but it's all about setting expectations and following the common path to uncommon success. There's definitely a lot of things in here that I wish I had done, that I kind of see was where I fell short. But you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. I've learned from the experience. Life is a journey, and it's about learning. And that sounds very Michael Scott of me. Sorry about that. At the rate I drink Dr. Pepper, they should sponsor my show. So if anyone from that company is watching, call me. So with that, just want to say thanks for watching. And I will have some big news probably in a week's time. Just bear with me on that, waiting for the right moment to announce it more widely, more publicly. But some big things are in the pipe, and I'm looking forward to doing some big, huge things. And with that, I will end the feed. Hope you're having a great day. If you're watching this live, thank you for watching. If you're watching this later, thanks for watching. And I just want to say, you have a great day. And I'm going to play my fancy outro graphics.